Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a couple of new supporter cards. And I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, when we're looking at new supporter cards, this is the Dragon set after all. So we're hoping that we can find a couple of Dragon-related, well, trainers. And the good news is we can. We totally can. We've got the first ever Raihan card. And we've also got, not the first ever Zinnia card, but let's just say the first one we've had for a little while. And I want to say the second one ever, but I'm going to check that as we're going through this video. And if it turns out I'm wrong, I'm going to, I don't know, cut this out or something along those lines. So anyway, I don't know, let's start off with Raihan here because... oh, it looks good. To be fair, they both look pretty gosh darn good, but Raihan here works as good as any. So what we've got here, and I should say our translations come from the lovely Antoine Boulet. You may only play this card if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. If you do, search your deck for any card and put it into your hand. Okay. Now we're rolling. It's another one of these weird kind of stadiums that neither is quite as good as you can get elsewhere, but both of the effects together make it a potentially genuinely special card. Now, in terms of attaching energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon, I think the key thing here is we are talking about any energy to any Pokemon. And that, to me, is the key point. Doesn't say bench, and Antoine is very good with these translations. It doesn't say a particular kind of energy. Doesn't say to dragon Pokemon. It is, you take any energy, any basic energy, obviously, and attach it to any of your Pokemon. Which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, it's not perfect. You know, we've seen Melanie, and... she just lets you attach a water energy from your discard to one of your water Pokemon and draw 3 cards. Kind of like Welder, but instead of attaching 2 fire from your hand, it's 1 water from your discard. So clearly that's better than just the first effect. Similarly, we could look at Beedee. Now, Beedee's a kind of a weird one because Beedee could go either way here. But Beedee, you are attaching a basic energy from your hand to one of your bench. Incidentally, it is only to the bench, whereas Raihan here can go to any. But also, remember, you've got to have had a Pokemon KO the previous turn for this to actually activate, so it's not exactly perfect. Then we get to the second half of the effect, and you are searching your deck for any card. And we've seen that before. You know, Red's Challenge lets you search for any card, but you do have to discard 2 cards from your hand in order to do so, which is far from ideal. And we've seen cards in the past like Twins and Teammates. But they're not perfect either. They both let you get 2 cards, which is clearly a good thing, but Teammates, you have to have had a Pokemon knocked out during your opponent's last turn, like this, and Twins, you must be behind on prizes. Thing is, as much as I can look at this and go, oh, I'd rather have Teammates, well, gutted. Teammates isn't legal. So you can't have Teammates. Teammates doesn't exist right now. But I think if you put the 2 of these together, I think then we're rocking. Because essentially what you're able to do then is have a bit of a monster turn. And that's got to be the goal, right? You can only use this after a Pokemon has been KO'd. So if you're not having a monster turn, what are you doing? But if I'm attaching an extra energy and then grabbing any card, there are going to be games where this is fantastic. One thing to point out, although Raihan is a dragon trainer, there is nothing about this card which signifies it's for dragons. It's for anybody. Honestly, the biggest question here is whether you're going to play it over something like Bruno. Rosa's not an issue, incidentally, because Rosa's going to rotate out about when this comes around, so Rosa's kind of irrelevant. You shove your hand into your deck if you had a Pokemon KO the previous turn, and you draw 7 cards. So would you rather go Bruno or Raihan here? And the answer is, it depends, as with so many questions in life. But as much as Bruno's getting you 7 cards, a lot of the time you only want one. And you're attaching a basic energy, so extra energy in any one card, it's not always going to be better than the Shuffle Draw 7, but I think a lot of the time it's going to be. I'm giving this 4 Wassies. I don't think this is going to be an every deck kind of card. There are going to be too many decks that don't want to play this kind of card, as in only if you had a Pokemon KO'd. And similarly, not every deck wants the energy acceleration, or they've got better options, or one card's not going to be enough, etc. But I think there are going to be a bunch of decks lining up to use this. As for Zinnia, she comes back with Zinnia's Resolution, which is important, of course, because we've already had Zinnia. So we couldn't then have Zinnia because it would have to do the thing that the old Zinnia did, and this is a new card. And it has a new effect. And that new effect is, you've got to discard 2 cards from your hand, but you get to draw a card for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play. I.e., if they've got 6 Pokemon in play, you draw 6 cards. Now, if for a second we indulge ourselves and head over into the expanded format, we got Skyfield, and Skyfield will mean that you can have up to 8 bench Pokemon, 9 Pokemon in play. So there is an argument that you should play Skyfield with this, try and bait your opponent into letting you draw more cards. But even in the standard format, we've still got Eternatus, and we keep expecting Eternatus to fall off. We keep expecting Eternatus to not be as good moving forward, but the fact of the matter is, it is still doing very well over in Japan, and there doesn't really seem to be much sign of it slowing down or stopping anytime soon. So I don't think it's particularly fair at this stage to just assume Eternatus isn't going to be big. And the thing is, not only can Eternatus have 8 bench Pokemon, not unlike Skyfield, but Eternatus' damage is dependent on the amount of bench Pokemon that it does have, so they're going to want to have 8. And then you're drawing 9. Now, discarding 2 cards from your hand can be a pain. You might be playing from the discard. Maybe you're playing something like Flaffy, and you really want to get lightning energy into the discard so you can accelerate it using Flaffy. That could be fun. There are going to be other times you just are willing to discard cards. You don't really care. It doesn't really matter. It's not that you want to. It's that you don't particularly mind if you do or not. But the thing is, this is very much like Erica's Hospitality. And Erica's Hospitality was a fringe card, but it was never a staple supporter. You drew a card for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play, but you had to have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, other than Erica's Hospitality. And honestly, Erica was never quite good enough. Fine as an occasional tech, but never good enough to really be a staple in a bunch of decks. Is this that much better than it will be? I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's not going to see play. I absolutely think it will see play, but I do think there is a legitimate question as to how much play it will see, and I'm not entirely convinced. So I'm going to give this another 4 Wassies, but I do think this is very much on the lower end of 4 Wassies. I think it's a good card. I think it's going to see a bunch of play, but I don't know if I'm willing to think it's going to be a staple in every deck. Both of these have a huge amount of potential, and like I've said, they might be Dragon Trainers, but there is nothing in either of these cards to suggest that they are for Dragon decks specifically, or any of that malarkey. Feel free to play them in Dragon decks, don't get me wrong, but you don't need to play them in Dragon decks. They're not for Dragon decks, they are basically for anyone who wants them. When we hit the rotation, it's really not a huge issue. We're still going to have Professor's Research. We're still going to have Marnie. They are by far the biggest supporter cards we've got in terms of how much play they see. As it stands at the moment, when we hit the rotation in 2022, we're losing those. And we're a way away yet. We've got 4 more English sets that are going to be revealed between now and then. And there is every possibility we get another reprint of Professor's Research at least, with another Professor on. And then it might survive the rotation. But even if you don't like these cards now, I think they're good, but I can see an argument why people wouldn't love them. Remember, it's not just for now. These cards are going to be around for a couple of years. And by that stage, This is looking very, very nice indeed. I'm a little bit excited, but as always, I want to know what you think about these cards. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.